Hello.
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 Yeah. Hi. So today we'll do simple harmonic motion. It's not a very difficult chapter, but there are many applications. So we'll try to cover the theory today. Okay. You already probably know a little bit, right?
Yes.
You have done it in school 1 or 2 times, right?
Yeah, once.
Okay. So simple harmonic motion basically is a kind of oscillatory motion. Oscillatory motion. That means the particle must do some sort of a to and fro type of a motion, right?
Right.
So this to and fro motion obviously has to be has to be about some point, right?
Yes.
Otherwise it doesn't make sense to say it is to and fro, right? It has to be to and fro about some position. So the particle that some point is called the mean position. Okay. So
Oh,
particle might be going this side and then coming back and then going this side and then coming back, right? So oscillatory motion in general is called harmonic. Harmonic means there is some periodicity. Some periodicity. So what do we mean by periodicity? It means that after some time, the particle will come back to the same place, right?
right.
Particle comes back to the same place with the same velocity. To the same place with the same velocity. That is called a periodic motion. So let's say you started at time t is equal to 0 from this position. Particle went here, came back, but right now notice that its velocity is this direction, right? And when it started off, its velocity was this direction.
Other direction. Yeah.
So this is not called one period. So when you go back this way and come back again, then your velocity will be in the same direction, right?
Right.
So you have to be at the same position and have the same velocity. Both the things are necessary for you to say that one time period has elapsed. One time period has happened, right?
Right.
So basically, oscillatory motion is called harmonic motion, and harmonic motion always has an associated idea of periodicity. So the particle will go around some mean position and it will eventually come back to the same point with the same velocity after some time interval. That time interval is called time period, right? However, in the name of the chapter itself, you see that it is simple harmonic motion. So what is so simple about it, right? So harmonic motion we understand, like for example, Earth is there and it goes around the sun, right?
Yeah.
Earth is going around the sun. That is clearly a periodic motion, right?
Right.
Every year it goes around the sun once. But can we call it a harmonic motion? Simple harmonic motion? No. So basically, there must be some qualifying thing which makes some motion simple harmonic and some motion just harmonic, right?
Right.
So this is a harmonic motion or periodic motion, but it is not a simple harmonic. Okay. So,
Right.
so we will try to understand what makes a particular type of motion simple harmonic motion and why are we studying simple harmonic motion, right? So now the definition of simple harmonic is there is something called the restoring force. So what is a restoring force? Before we do simple harmonic definition, we need to understand what is the concept of restoring force. So restoring force, or sometimes it can even be torque, is basically the force or torque which brings the particle back to the mean position. So obviously, if a particle is doing motion like this around a mean, then some force must be turning it back, right? Like if you think of a pendulum, right?
Yeah.
Pendulum is oscillating, then while it is in the mean position, you are giving it a velocity like this. Eventually, why did it stop here and turn back, right? There must have been some force that is bringing it back, right? Correct.
Yeah.
If there was no such force, then it should keep going like this, right?
Yeah.
So that force which brings the particle back, this restoring force is a force that brings the particle back, force that brings it back to its equilibrium position or mean position. Brings the particle back to its equilibrium position or mean position. Now, if there was no restoring force, there cannot be periodic motion, because periodic motion will happen only when the particle comes back to the same point. And that means that the particle must change direction, right?
Yes.
Initially, however it is moving, it must change direction and come back, right? So
Yes.
that basically means that you have to give it a force which causes a deceleration, right? When it is going away from the mean position, it should be decelerating. When it is coming towards the mean position, it could be accelerating, right?
Yeah.
So it comes down, it comes back like this, right? Comes back. So
Yeah.
so suppose we have some position called the mean position here, and let's talk about a spring force. This is, let's say this is a spring, and the spring is unstretched. Spring is unstretched, right? So
Yes.
right now the spring exerts no force on the particle, and this will be called the mean position or equilibrium position. Then if you extend the spring a little bit, if you extend the spring a little bit and bring it here, let's say, right? Then extension in the spring is, let's say, x. Extension is equal to x, right?
Yes.
Remember that this x is distance from mean, okay? Distance from mean. Basically, it is extension, not the total x, okay? It's not some total distance. This is not x.
Yeah.
What is x? X is the extension from here to here, right?
Right.
So if that extension is x, then you know that force by the spring is minus kx, right? In the negative direction, in this direction, it wants to pull it back, right? Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
This type of force is basically trying to bring the particle back to the mean, right? Trying to bring the particle back to the mean. Correct. So this is a restoring force. So this is called a restoring force. So what we understand is that there has to be some sort of a restoring force for a motion to be periodic. Notice that if the force was plus kx, then the particle will forever keep going that side, right?
Right.
Then it is not restoring, no? Then it is actually taking it away from the mean position, right?
Yes.
So this minus sign is important. The minus sign tells you that force direction is opposite, is always is opposite to direction of displacement from mean. Opposite to the direction, force direction is opposite to the direction of displacement from the mean. Displacement from the mean position. Right?
Right.
Okay. So this is the situation right now. So this type of force is called a restoring force. And what we need to have is for a harmonic motion to be called a simple harmonic motion, the qualifying criteria is that force is proportional to negative of x. Okay. So this is the main criteria, that the restoring force must be directly proportional to the displacement from mean and should be negative direction, right? So if it was like this, suppose force is proportional to minus x to the power half, right?
Yeah.
Or force is proportional to minus x square, right?
Yeah.
Still, the motion would have been harmonic. Motion would be still harmonic here.
Okay, but it won't be simple.
But it won't be simple because we will see why. Because this type of equation is really simple to solve. Like once you have this sort of situation, you can actually solve and get the x or position of the particle as a function of time, because this is a very easy differential equation to solve. This is also definitely harmonic because it is trying to bring it back actually, but the proportionality is more complicated. If it was something like this, minus x plus x power half or something, this could be anything weird also, right?
Yeah.
But motion would still be harmonic, but it's not a simple equation. You cannot solve it very easily. So what we will be studying mostly is this type of situation where force is proportional to minus of x power 1, where x is displacement from mean position. This is, I'm reiterating many times because many times people make mistakes here. X is not some distance, mean position. X is not some whatever origin you took and from there to x. It is actually from the mean, it is the distance, right?
Right.
And it is displacement, so it has a particular direction. So if you take x in positive, then force has to be negative for it to be SHM.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try to understand. If f is proportional to minus x, f will be equal to minus kx, right?
Right.
So this is the typical spring equation, typical spring mass equation.
Right.
But it is more general, like it's not just true for spring mass systems. Anytime you have force proportional to minus x, you will have f is equal to minus kx sort of a situation, right? So then what we will do is we will try to understand what is the acceleration of the particle, minus kx by m, right? Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Acceleration is minus kx by m. Acceleration can be written as dv by dt is equal to minus kx by m. But
Right.
this is time here, but there is x here, right? So we will not be able to solve it right now. So what we will do is we'll write acceleration as dv by dx into dx by dt is equal to minus k by m x, right?
Right.
So this will become v dv is equal to minus k by m dx into x, right?
Right.
So v, this is v, and v dv and dx comes this side, right? So
Yeah.
now depending on your situation, now integrate this based on some initial conditions and final condition, right? So
Yeah.
we'll get v square by 2. Let's say final velocity is v and initial velocity was v naught, right? Basically you started off the particle with some v naught velocity, right?
Right.
And let's say here also it is minus k by m integral of x, so x square by 2, and initial position was some x naught and final position is at x arbitrary, right? You
Right.
understand?
Yeah.
I'm just making an equation in the most general situation possible, right? I'm starting the particle's motion at x naught with a velocity v naught, and right now it is at some v, it is at some x position with a velocity v, right?
Right.
So you will get this equation and I will solve it here. So it will become v square by 2 minus v naught square by 2 is equal to minus k by m x square by 2 minus x naught square by 2, right?
Yes.
So 2 can cancel everywhere and it will become v square is equal to v naught square minus k by m x square minus x naught square, right? Correct.
Yeah.
This is what is coming, no? Yeah. Yeah. So this can be written again as v square is equal to v naught square plus k by m x naught square minus k by m x square, right? Correct.
Yes.
So what I will do is now I will divide by this k by m, okay? And I will take the k by m outside, okay? Common, k by m common basically. So you'll get v naught square by k, and m comes on top,
Yeah.
plus x naught square, right?
Right.
Minus x square, right?
Yeah.
So this is my v square. And so v is coming out to be root of k by m into root of m v naught square by k plus x naught square minus x square, right?
Yes.
Now, notice one thing, that first of all, this part is a completely constant quantity, right?
Yeah.
This part depends on how you started it off, right?
Started,
X
yes.
naught, V naught. So where did you start seeing the problem, right?
Yes.
And M and K, right? So these are constants. So let's for the moment call M V naught square by K plus X naught square as some A square, some constant, right?
Yeah.
And we will also say root k by m is there, okay? That is also a constant. So this is becoming root k by m root over a square minus x square, right?
Right.
And this v can be written as dx by dt, right?
Yes.
So you're getting this situation right now, right? So what we will do is now we can integrate this actually, because this is a possible integral. You can bring it down and bring dt that side, right? So this implies dx by root over a square minus x square is equal to root k by m into dt, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
now start integrating it. Again, x goes from x naught to x, right?
Yeah.
And this goes from 0 to t, right?
Yeah.
Initial time to final time, right? Now, this is a straightforward integration. You can use any substitution. It will come out sine inverse x by a. So let's check once. X is equal to, let's say, a cos phi, right? So then dx will be equal to minus a sine phi, right?
Right. Right.
Maybe I should have put a sine phi. Let's put a sine phi. X is equal to a sine phi. Both will work, but in this minus sign is coming, no? So that will ruin our integration constant and all. It will become slightly different, but it's the same thing. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you later. X is equal to a sine phi. If I put, what happens? On top becomes a cos phi d phi, right?
Yes.
Dx is equal to a cos phi d phi.
Yeah.
And underneath in denominator becomes simply cos phi, right? A cos phi.
Right.
So this cancels completely, right?
Yeah.
So it is just d phi, right?
Yes.
D phi integration will be phi, right?
Yeah.
And phi is sine inverse x by a, right?
Yes.
So it will come sine inverse x by a, and going from x naught to x, right? Is
Right.
equal to root k by m into t, right?
Yeah.
So you have, I will just do it on the next page. So sine inverse x by a going from x naught to x is equal to root k by m into t, right?
Right.
Like, just remember what was a? A was, I think, m v naught square by k plus x naught square, no?
Yes.
Just check once if you have written it down.
Yeah, it is that only.
Yeah. Okay. So now see, this becomes simply sine inverse x by a minus sine inverse x naught by a, right? Is equal to root k by m into t, right?
Right.
So that can be written as sine inverse x by a is equal to root k by m into t plus sine inverse x naught by a, right?
Yeah.
And take sine on both sides. This becomes x by a is equal to sine of root k by m into t plus sine inverse x naught by a, right?
Right.
You're getting x is equal to a sine root k by m into t plus sine inverse x naught by a, correct?
Right.
Now, this is the final equation of the SHM. So you are being able to predict the x in terms of time, right?
Yeah.
plus sine inverse x naught by a. So notice that what were the two initial conditions that you needed? You needed two conditions, x naught and v naught, right? To be able to, these are called initial conditions, right?
Right.
To be able to get this equation, right? Remember that here a is this, right? So actually there is a v naught here inside, right?
Yes.
A is actually root of this, no? A square was this, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And now sometimes what people do is people write k by m as omega square. K by m is written as omega square. This is called angular frequency. Okay. So omega becomes root k by m. They are just calling it angular frequency. This is just a constant. They have called it like this because it keeps coming up everywhere,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
so what you get is the equation can be written as, this part can be written as, see, this is m by k, so it will be y omega square, right? B naught square by omega square plus x naught square, right?
Yes.
And the equation becomes nice. Equation becomes x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi. Phi is called the phase constant. Phi is this quantity, right?
Right.
Correct. So this is my equation of SHM that people write normally. In this, we want to understand what is the meaning of all of these terms. So I'll just rub off this part and we'll just discuss each term. So first of all, the thing to know is, why are there two initial conditions that are required, x naught and v naught? Why are there two initial conditions required? Because whenever you do an integration, right? Whenever you do an integration, always one integrating constant comes, right?
Yeah.
So if you have an integration, if you have a integrating constant, you will be able to figure out integrating constant only if the value of the function was given, right?
Right.
Like one initial condition has to be given to you to be able to find that constant, no? So for example, if you have dy by dx is equal to x, suppose, right? And you have to
Yeah.
find y is equal to fx, right? Suppose you are asked to find this. So right now, immediately you can do x dx and integrate this and say y is equal to x square by 2. But you don't know whether it is a plus c, right? There's a plus c that comes, right?
Right.
This plus c, you can actually, right now, the solution of this is an infinite number of functions, right?
Yeah.
But the plus c you can figure out only if someone gives you that f of 2 was equal to 5, right? If
Right.
someone gives you a one initial condition that y was equal to 5 when x was equal to 2, right? Then you will do
Yeah.
this. 5 is equal to 4 by 2 plus c. Therefore, c will be equal to 3. And now you will know the function was x square by 2 plus 3, right? Correct.
Right.
So basically, one initial condition is required to solve any typical differential equation where there is one integration that you did, right? Right? You did one integration, so one initial condition was needed, right? However,
Right.
if you remember in the derivation, we did two integrations, no, here. We
Yes.
started off with a is equal to minus k by mx, right?
Yeah.
We started off with a is equal to minus k by mx. We first did this integral, right? Minus k by mx dx. Right?
X. Yeah.
We did this integral, and then later we also did v is equal to root over a square minus x square omega. This integral we did dx by dt here, right?
Right. Yeah.
Something like this. So the omega was k by m. This was, we earlier did not call it omega, but there was root k by m outside, right?
Yes.
So since there are two integrations that you have to do to finally get to the function, therefore you need two conditions to be able to say precisely what that function will be, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So therefore you need both x naught and v naught at the initial moment. right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what else can we say about this? So first let's understand what is A, right? A was what? A was root over m v naught square by k plus x naught square, right? So notice that finally the equation is becoming x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi, right?
Right.
So here, this just means that the maximum value of x, right? The maximum displacement can be plus a or minus a, right?
Minus A. Yeah.
So basically, this is like an amplitude, okay? Amplitude. Amplitude as in like how far will it go from the mean position, right? What is the maximum? So a value, the amplitude value, we have now realized that it depends on how you release the particle in the initial moment, right?
Right.
So think about it. It depends on both V naught and X naught. And so let's take some situations. So if you have a spring like this, and it was at the mean position, right? So
Yeah.
if it is at mean position, its X initial is 0, right?
Yes.
X is 0 initial. So if you give it a velocity V naught, right?
Yeah.
Then its amplitude will become m V naught square by k plus 0, right?
Yes.
So then root of m V naught square by k will be its total amplitude, right?
Right.
But if you release it from a different point from here, and if you give a velocity here, right? Then its amplitude will be more than that, right? Because it is already at some displacement x naught, right?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So a value will depend on both the initial velocity and the initial position. Okay. And what we need to know is what is this thing sine inverse x naught by a? What is this phi, right? So that is called the phase constant. Phase constant basically tells you at the initial time what is the situation. Like for example, at t is equal to 0, right? Where is the particle? So where is the particle? Particle will be at x is equal to a sine phi, right? Correct.
Right.
Correct, no? So
Yeah.
notice that x is equal to a sine phi, and sine phi is what? Sine phi is simply x naught by a, right? Because sine inverse x naught by a was equal to phi, right?
Yeah.
So sine phi is x naught by a, so a into x naught by a. See, this fits the condition. X must have been x naught at t is equal to 0, right?
Right.
Correct. So basically that quantity phi is telling you where the particle is at the initial moment, and also it tells you something about the velocity also. So if you take this is the position of the particle with as a function of time. If you differentiate this, you should get the position as a function, velocity as a function of time. So you will get a omega cos omega t plus phi, right?
Right.
This is your velocity as a function of time. So now think about it. At t is equal to 0, what is the velocity? It is coming out to be a omega cos phi, right?
Right.
This is the velocity coming out to be a omega cos phi. So basically, the phi determines both the initial position and the initial velocity. Now, since cos phi is going to be what? 1 minus root over x naught square by a square, right?
Yes.
uh, Basically cos phi will be, this will be a omega root over 1 minus x naught square by a square, right? Correct.
Yes.
So now see, a can be coming out, a can come out and cancel, and it will become omega into a square minus x square, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And notice that that was the initial equation. V naught was that only, right? This.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
Or you can just do it from here. A square is what? V naught square by omega square plus x square, right? See, a square is V naught square by omega square plus x square, no? Plus x naught square. So if you put that there, you will just get at the initial time x is x naught. So x naught square will get cancelled and it will become V naught square by omega square, and that will cancel with the omega. So it will become simply V is equal to V naught at t is equal to 0, right?
Yeah, right.
So it is important to now realize that if your force is minus kx, right? What we have done is we have solved this differential equation. This differential equation is actually a second degree differential equation. So if you write it like this, see, this is the equation, right?
Right.
Acceleration is a second derivative of x, no? And this is
Yes.
x. So if it is second degree equation, you had to do two integrations, right? And therefore you needed two initial conditions. So here you will call k by m can be called as omega square here only. So your equation becomes a is minus omega square x, right? And as soon as you have this equation, your solution, you should remember the solution directly. Solution is a sine omega t plus phi, right?
Right.
X is equal to a sine omega t plus phi is a solution of this equation. Like, what do I mean by solution of that equation? Basically, that first equation, a is equal to minus omega square x, is a differential equation. We don't know the x function, right? So what we can say is x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi definitely satisfies the differential equation. Okay, so how will you confirm that? You can very easily confirm that. Take x, velocity will be what? A omega cos omega t plus phi, right?
Yes.
Single derivative will give velocity, right? And double derivative will give acceleration. Double acceleration will become minus omega square a sine omega t plus phi, right?
Right.
And notice that a sine omega t plus phi can be written as x, no?
Yeah.
So it is satisfying this equation, no? It is coming out to be this only,
Right.
right? So this is a general solution. This is a general solution to any differential equation like this, correct? So
Right.
as soon as you have acceleration is proportional to negative of x, then you should be able to write the position as a function of time directly. Okay.
Okay.
And suppose someone asks you right now, okay, fine, you can write this equation, but what is a and phi here? A and phi were not given in the question, right? Correct?
Right.
A and phi was not told. No, people only told you a is equal to minus omega square x. You did not know about constants a and cap phi, right?
Yes.
So how do you find that constant and all? We can find it very easily by saying at t is equal to 0, x should be x naught, v should be v naught, right?
Right.
And this information has to be given to you in the problem itself. Like, what was the situation in the beginning of the motion, right? At when you started looking, right?
Right.
Without knowing these two initial conditions, it is impossible to find a and phi. Okay.
Okay.
Then it will be an infinite number of functions that might satisfy it, right?
Right.
Just like we did that dy by dx is equal to x case, right?
Yeah.
So like that only. So you need to know these two things. So that might be hidden in the problem somehow. Like it will be given somewhere. You have to notice what is that. So once you know this, let's just use that to get it. So put t is equal to 0 in this equation, you get x naught is equal to a sine phi, right?
Right.
And differentiate it and put t is equal to 0 in this equation, right? So you'll get v naught should be a omega cos phi, right?
Yeah.
So this is two equations in two unknowns, and it is quite easy to eliminate phi here, because what I will say is x naught square by a square is sine square phi plus v naught square by a square omega square, right?
Yeah.
Is equal to 1, right?
Right.
So since right now in this equation, both x naught, v naught and omega are known, you can find a very easily. Therefore, a square must be equal to x naught square plus v naught square by omega square, right? And so
Right.
a is equal to root over v naught square by omega square plus x naught square, which is what we wrote earlier in our derivation also, if you remember.
Yeah.
Remember earlier when we derived it from scratch, right now we are solving it once we know the solution itself, right?
Yes.
Right now we are doing it so that in an exam, you will not want to derive the whole thing. You want to use directly x is equal to a sine omega t plus 5, right?
Right.
So right now I'm showing you from here how to get it. From here how to get amplitude. If you are given x naught and y naught, this is what you can do. X naught will be this, v naught will be this, right? And you
Right.
will have this equation where I have eliminated 5. So once you have that, you get the equation a is equal to this. And now see, omega square was k by m. And if you put k by m here, it becomes what we earlier did in the previous derivation, right? M v naught square by k plus x naught square.
Right.
Correct? No?
Yeah.
So you found amplitude. Once you find amplitude, directly put amplitude here and get sine phi, right?
Yeah.
Sine phi will be equal to x naught by a. So phi will be equal to sine inverse x naught by a, right?
Right.
So these are the ways in which you can find out a and phi given two initial conditions and an SHM equation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then a couple more things about this equation. So suppose you had basically the defining equation of SHM you had was f is equal to minus kx. And now because of that, a became minus omega square x, where omega square is equal to k by m. And since you knew this, you figured out that without even deriving it, I know solution of this will be x is equal to capital A sine omega t plus 5, right? Correct.
Yes.
Here A stands for, capital A stands for amplitude of the motion. Phi stands for what? Stands for the phase, which basically means at t is equal to 0, what is the situation, right?
Right.
At t is equal to 0, where is the particle? What is its velocity? That information is contained in that phi value, right? So now let's do one thing. Velocity is coming as a omega cos omega t plus phi, right? So what is the kinetic energy of the particle? Kinetic energy of the particle at a particular time, right? At any time t. So kinetic energy of the particle should be half mv square, right? So that will simply be half m. V square is a square omega square cos square omega t plus phi, right?
Right.
So that is the kinetic energy of the particle, right? Now, what about potential energy? What about potential energy? So for potential energy, if force is defined like this, right? This is looking like that spring force potential, right? Spring force, right? So I know a relation that du will be minus f dot dx, right? Potential energy for a conservative force. Potential energy is only defined for conservative force, and we know that if it is defined, then it will be this, right?
Yes.
You remember this, no, from chapter 8.
Yeah.
For conservative forces, du will be minus f dot dr. So,
Yeah.
so if you do that, it becomes minus kx dx, and potential energy will come out after you integrate and all. It comes out as half kx square, just like it comes out for a spring, right?
Okay.
You realize how it will come, no? It will integrate, you will say uf minus ui, and it will be minus kx xf square by 2 plus kxi square by 2, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it will come as half kx square is potential energy. So if I do potential energy right now for the particle, it becomes half kx square is what? A square sine square omega t plus 5,
Right.
right?
Right.
And K by m is equal to omega square. So K is equal to m omega square. So you can write it as half m omega square a square sine square omega t plus phi, right?
Right.
So potential energy and kinetic energy are having these expressions. So what you can say, if it is SHM, PE plus KE is equal to, see, you can take this whole part common and sine square plus cos square will become 1, right?
1. Yeah.
So it will become half m omega square a square, or basically half k into capital A square, right?
Right.
Now this is a constant for the motion. For a particular SHM, its amplitude will be fixed. Its mass and its omega and all, everything is fixed, right? So for a particular case, for a particular SHM, total energy is going to be constant.
Right.
Total energy is basically total mechanical energy is my potential energy plus kinetic energy. And we have verified that if it is following the SHM equations, then it must be adding up to equal to half K capital A square, right?
Right.
And since amplitude is constant, K is constant, so this is a constant value, right? So sometimes in problems, you will be using this fact. You will be using this fact by doing this. You will say that in a general situation, you can say, in a general situation, you can say total energy expression will be something. Total energy expression you can write. It will depend on X, B, and so on. Multiple factors it could depend on. It includes kinetic energy and it includes all the potential energies for the system, right? If
Right.
you write the total energy expression, then we know that if it is an SHM, dE by dt should be 0 because E is constant in time. E is
Right.
constant in time, right?
Yeah.
So if dE by dt is 0, then you will differentiate this part and you will say that 0 is equal to d by dt of this, all of these terms, that is the energy terms, right?
Yes.
And that will give you an equation, and hopefully that equation will become an SHM equation and you can solve for X. This
Yeah.
equation will become an SHM equation. So we will see examples where this is an energy method of doing the same thing, right?
Right.
The non-energy method is the force or torque method, where what we do is we say that, okay, let's say the particle is at a particular displacement, right here, and find out, draw the free body diagram of the particle, write all the forces, tension, gravity, some angle theta, and so on, write all the forces, all the torques and all. And since you have displaced it slightly from the mean position, the net force should be somewhat something that brings it back, right?
Yeah.
So you'll just write Newton's laws equation and create a relation where A will eventually come. You'll write F is equal to minus Kx, something like this you should get eventually from here. So we'll see examples where we get the SHM equation by doing force method. We will also see examples where we get it by doing energy method. What is energy method? Energy method is saying at this general position, write out all the terms for kinetic energy, all the Ke plus Pe terms, right?
Right.
And then say that dE by dt should be 0.
0.
Here you are saying, you are just doing Newton's laws here.
Right.
You are drawing everything and writing Newton's laws equation, and you're hoping that it comes out like this. Okay. If it comes out like this, then you can say that if F is equal to minus Kx is coming, then X must be equal to A sine omega t plus phi is the solution, right? Where
Yeah.
omega is equal to root K by M and stuff, right?
Right.
Because we have already derived that. Like as long as you can get somehow Newton's laws equations which look like this, then you know the answer, right?
Yes.
And this method is write all the energy terms and all, kinetic energy plus potential energy at a general point. Don't write it for a specific point. You understand what I mean by general point?
Yes.
Don't write kinetic energy and potential energy for some amplitude point or mean position and then hope that it will come, right? Because that is anyway a constant value. You have to write it at some variable point, right? X, where the displacement is X, velocity is V, unknown, right?
Right.
Once you write it for any arbitrary point, then you can say dE by dt should be 0, because if it is SHM, energy must be conserved,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So now let's go to the textbook once and see what he's saying. 12.1 and all, he's explaining SHM. He is writing 12.1 is the defining equation of an SHM. A is equal to minus omega square x. We have already discussed this. Omega square is equal to k by m, okay?
Yeah.
Omega square is just the constant. So basically f is equal to minus kx. 12.2 is the main equation, right?
Right.
We can use equation 12.2 as the definition of SHM, right? So
Yeah.
again, you have to realize here that x is displacement from the mean position, right? And it is not anything else.
Right.
Then we come down, we come to 12.2, which is qualitative discussion. You can read it, nothing very difficult. 12.3, equation of motion of an SHM. So here he will derive everything. So start from just below figure 12.3. If you see, suppose the position of the particle at t is equal to 0 is x naught and its velocity is v naught, right?
Yeah.
Thus, at t is equal to 0, x is equal to x naught, v is equal to v naught. Acceleration of the particle at this instant is minus k by mx minus omega square x, where omega is root of k by m. And now he is just writing dv by dt is minus omega square x, that is 12.3. And he does the steps that we have discussed already, right?
Right.
Integrating one by one. First integration is v dv is equal to minus omega square x dx. Then second, see, after that he simplifies a little bit like we did, and he got this equation: v is equal to omega root over v naught square by omega square plus x naught square minus x square, where this
Right.
quantity in the bracket is called a square.
Well, yeah.
And so the equation looks like v is equal to omega root over capital A square minus x square, which is 12.5. And then this is the point where you do the second integration, because now velocity is in terms of x. So you can do dx by dt is equal to this, right?
Right.
And after doing that, exactly what we did, he got the equation. X is equal to a sine omega t plus phi is equation 12.6, right? Where
Yeah.
that delta part is the phase, which is sine inverse x naught by a, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if x has come as a function of time, then velocity also can be written as a function of time, which is a omega cos omega t plus phi, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, using this equation 12.6, right? He will discuss all of the terms that are involved in 12.6, right? So that is the SHM equation in general. So if x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi, and what is the meaning of a? Then you know that basically x can vary from plus a to minus a. So that is called the amplitude, right?
Right.
Then part B. Part B is called time period. I think he will discuss. Yeah, time period. So time period is a particle in SHM repeats its motion after a regular time interval. Suppose the particle is at position x and its velocity is v at a certain time. After some time, the position of the particle will again be x and its velocity will again be v in the same direction. This part of the motion is called one complete oscillation, right? And time taken is called the time period, right? So,
Okay.
so how does he find the time period? See what he will do. So first, let's say we have x is equal to a sine omega t plus delta, right? If capital T be the time period, then x should have the same value at t and t plus capital T, right?
Right.
So he will say that at t plus capital T, what is the x value? It is a sine omega t plus capital T plus delta, right?
Right.
So first he's equating the values of sine omega t plus delta is equal to sine omega t plus delta, right?
Right.
But that is not enough in itself. You have to also match the velocities, okay?
Okay.
Right, because you can have the same position but opposite velocities, right?
Velocities, yeah.
So you have to match velocities also. So he gets a second equation using the velocity equation, which is a omega cos omega t plus delta, right? So basically what has to happen is both sine omega t plus delta and cos omega t plus delta must be the same, right? At
Yes.
the time t plus capital T, right?
Yeah.
But sine and cos will repeat their values only if it increases by 2 pi, right? The angle.
Yeah.
See, individually, just the sine you could have gotten at pi also. Okay.
Right.
Because actually less than pi also. 30 degree and 150 degree have the same value, right?
Yes.
Correct. So
Yeah.
if it was just sine he had to equate, then as long as omega t plus delta and omega t plus delta are supplementary, it would have worked out, right?
Right.
What am I saying? What I'm saying is, suppose x is equal to a sine omega t plus delta and velocity is equal to a omega cos omega t plus delta, right? Now, this is at t is equal to 0, let's say, or t is equal to not 0, at t is equal to t only, right? Now you are going to look at time t is equal to t plus some other time, capital T, right?
Right.
So here x should be x is equal to a sine omega t plus capital T plus delta, and velocity should be a omega cos omega t plus capital T plus delta, right?
Right.
If this x and this x have to match and this v and this v have to match, then only it will be called time period, right?
Yes.
So for that to happen, both the sine should be same and the cos also should be same, no?
Yes.
If it was not like that, if it was, we could have ignored velocity, for example, right? If you could ignore velocity, then just sine had to match, right?
Yeah.
And if it was just sine had to match, then it is possible that omega t plus delta could have been 30 degree or pi by 6, and omega t plus delta could have been 5 pi by 6, right?
Right.
Then also both the signs would have been same, no?
Yes.
But notice that if you took this case, the causes would not match
Right.
because it will become negative, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So therefore, to make both sine and cos match, the only possibility is that the difference between this and this must be 2 pi or multiples of 2 pi. Multiples of 2 pi. You can confirm it by taking angles and all. Like if you add 2 pi to both the angles, no, then cos and sine will both remain the same, no, obviously, because sine and cos are individually periodic with 2 pi, right?
Yes.
Are you understanding what is happening?
Yeah.
So then the difference between this angle and this angle must be 2 pi minimum at least. So what is the actual difference? Omega t plus capital T plus delta minus omega t minus delta should be 2 pi or higher multiples of 2 pi, right?
Yeah.
So delta will cancel, omega t will cancel, and you get omega into capital T is 2 pi, and capital T will come out as 2 pi by omega, right?
Right.
So this is the smallest time interval after which you will get a repeated motion situation where position and velocity will again be the same. So this is called the time period for one oscillation. Okay. Obviously, 4 pi by omega would also have worked, right? But that is actually 2 time periods. You have done 2 oscillations instead of 1 oscillation.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's go ahead in this. Then now he will discuss, I think, phase frequency. Frequency is basically reciprocal of time period. You already know that probably. Frequency
Yes.
is 1 by time period. So omega by 2 pi is frequency, right?
Right.
Omega is root k by n. So that is what he is writing in 12.9 and 10, right? phase. What is phase? So the quantity omega t plus delta, the whole angle inside the sine. Okay. So let's see. X is equal to a sine omega t plus delta, right?
Yeah.
So this is the equation of SHM. Now this whole angle is called phase. And just the part of it which is the constant, not dependent on time, is called phase constant. Okay.
Okay.
So what is the meaning of phase? So basically, the motion of the particle is a repetition between minus a to a, right?
Yes.
It is going to go between minus a to a, and this is the mean position, right?
Right.
So since this sine value is going from +1 to -1, that is basically dictating where the particle is, right?
Yes.
Omega t plus phi is phase because the phase dictates where in its motion is the particle currently, right?
Right.
So if you think about time starting from t is equal to 0 from the origin, and then going like this and coming like this and coming like this. So if you go like this and like this and like this, come back, that is one oscillation. So that will be one time period, one time period, right? Correct.
Correct.
So your phase value, your phi value should change from 0 to 2 pi, right, in one time period. Because time period is 2 pi by omega. So after 2 pi, the sine function starts repeating again.
Yeah.
What I mean to say is the entire variation of sine can be captured from 0 to 2 pi. The sine graph, all the variation can be captured in 0 to 2 pi. After that, it starts repeating.
Repeating. Yes.
So phase value basically tells you how much of where in its motion right now is the particle currently, right? Because
Right.
if you specify the phase, then you know where the particle is, plus minus a, wherever, right? Or
Yeah.
some fraction, a by 2, √3 a by 2, whatever, right? Plus minus. So phase is just a term which specifies the position of the particle in its oscillation, like in its complete oscillation, how much of the oscillation is done and how much is left.
Right.
Are you understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Phase constant we have already discussed. Phase constant tells you where the particle is at t is equal to 0.
Okay.
Because at t is equal to 0,
Omega t.
x naught is equal to basically a sine phi, right?
Right.
And v naught is equal to a omega cos phi. So this delta tells you what is the initial situation at origin time. When
Right.
time is 0, what is the initial situation? When the whole angle is being talked about, you will call it phase. That tells you during the course of oscillation, how much of the oscillation is done. Like where is it currently at this time, right?
Right.
And delta tells you simply what was the initial situation, right?
Right.
Okay. Then phase constant, the constant delta appearing in equation is called phase constant. The constant depends on the choice of the instant t is equal to 0. Okay. So to describe the motion quantitatively, a particular instant should be called t is equal to 0 and measurement of time should be made from this instant, right?
Right.
This instant may be chosen according to the convenience of the problem. Like we can decide when we call t is equal to 0, right?
Yeah.
Suppose we choose t is equal to 0 at an instant when the particle is passing through the mean position and going towards the positive direction, right?
Yes.
The phase omega t plus delta should then be 0, right? Because at t is equal to 0, the particle is at mean position.
Yeah.
So x should be 0. So at that moment, omega t plus delta should be 0.
0.
And that means as t is equal to 0, that means delta should be 0, right?
Right.
Otherwise, how will it be overall 0, right? So
Yeah.
the equation for displacement in that case can be written as x is equal to a sine omega t, because delta becomes 0 in this case, right?
Right.
Are you understanding? He has
Yeah.
chosen original or origin time at the situation where it was at mean position and going forward, right?
Forward, yes.
So it had x naught should have been 0, v naught should have been a omega, right?
Right.
So delta must be 0 for that.
Yeah.
However, you could also choose t is equal to 0 at an instant when the particle is at its positive extreme position, right? So
Yeah.
the phase must be pi by 2 at that instant. Why pi by 2? Because only then sine pi by 2 will become 1 and x is equal to positive a.
Okay, yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi, suppose initial position is taken when the particle is here, right? T is equal to 0 here, right? So clearly x naught is equal to a, right?
Yes.
And v naught is equal to some minus something, right? Negative value something. Then only it will start moving. No, if v naught is 0, then it will not move on.
Yep.
Right? So this is the situation. So x naught is equal to a is equal to a sine t 0. So this, right? So delta must be pi by 2, right?
Right.
And if delta is pi by 2, then the equation itself can be written in a different way slightly, because x is equal to a sine omega t plus pi by 2. So pi by 2 plus omega t will become a cos omega t.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So if sometimes someone writes an SHM equation using cos, that doesn't mean it is wrong or something. It's just a different phase, different phase constant, right?
Yeah.
If you took phase constant as 0, equation was just sine. If you take phase constant as pi by 2, equation will look like a cos equation. But it's actually the same SHM. It depends on choice of when you choose t is equal to 0.
Right.
Right. Okay. Then that is phase constant stuff. It could also be chosen at any arbitrary point in the middle, like not necessarily at 0 or extreme position, right? In
Yeah.
that case, the equation will keep on having a delta or something, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that is the general situation. Then you can ignore tool 12.5, not so important. Energy conservation 12.6 is important. We have already discussed this. So see how he does this. He does force is minus kx. So work done by the force F during a displacement from x to x plus dx. dw is minus is f dx, so minus kx dx, right?
Right.
Work done is coming out from 0 to x. The total work done becomes minus half kx square, right?
Yeah.
And we learned in chapter 8 that change in potential energy is negative of work done.
Work done. Yeah.
So change in potential energy from 0 to x becomes half kx square, right?
Right.
So potential energy at x position can be written as half kx square, because at 0 position it will be written as 0.
0.
So potential energy expression he derives as half kx square for the SHM. So in that case, now he takes x equation. Now obviously this part we have done already. Half kx square becomes half m omega square a square sine square, right?
Right.
And half mv square becomes half m omega square a square cos square. So the
Right.
total energy is becoming a constant value, right?
Yeah.
So this is fine, nothing very difficult. Now we come to the situation where we discuss different cases. So now the next 4-5 sections will be about different cases of SHM. So the first thing he discusses is angular SHM. Okay. So angular SHM basically means a body free to rotate about a given axis can make angular oscillations, right?
Yes.
So if you have okay, I'll just do it by an example. Okay. So let's derive the time period for a simple pendulum. Time period of a simple pendulum which you have learned in lower classes, right? So this time period is 2 pi root over L by G.
Right.
So how does it come? So let's have a pendulum here, and its length is L, mass is M, and length of the string is L, and let's displace it slightly. Okay. Let's displace it slightly here, right? By some angle theta. Correct.
Right.
So right now, what we'll derive is the time period expression, and we'll do it by the force or torque method first. Force or torque method. What is this method? This method is saying that just displace it slightly from the mean position and then see the free body diagram in that situation and write the equations for the free body diagram. So this is a slide. This is my mean position, no? The vertical position.
Yep.
So if you displace it slightly from the mean position like this, my tension is like this, tension is T like this, and mg is like this, right?
Yeah.
And let's draw this line a little extended. So we have this angle is theta, so mg cos theta like this,
Right.
mg cos theta like this, and mg sin theta like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Mg sin theta is like this. Now clearly mg sin theta is definitely bringing it this side, right?
Right.
But because the path of the particle is a curve, it is not convenient to use force, because the path of the particle is a curved line. No? It's not like a straight line.
Right.
You understand? It's not going in a straight line, right?
Yeah.
So what will be easier to do here is a torque. So notice that the particle or the bob is suspended from the vertical point here, right? This point.
Yeah.
And this force mg sin theta will have a torque about this point, right?
Yes.
Torque of mg sin theta about this point will be torque is equal to mgl sin theta, because this is perpendicular to the string, right?
Yes.
Mg cos theta has zero torque because it is in
Yes.
the same direction as the line, right?
Yeah.
R cross F is the torque, no? So R is in this direction.
Yeah.
And similarly, tension has zero torque, right?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the only torque is one torque, right? MGL sin theta.
Yeah.
Now MGL sin theta, we can say, is called a restoring torque here, no? Because it is bringing it back to the
Back
mean
to the main
position.
position.
So what we will write it as torque is equal to minus MGL sin theta, where we have written minus sign only because theta was assumed positive in this sign, right? So torque is bringing it back like this, right?
Right.
So torque is coming as minus mgl sin theta, and we know that torque should be equal to I alpha, right?
Yeah.
For any body, torque about that point will be the I alpha, no? Alpha about that point will be depending on this torque only, right?
Yes.
And I is the moment of inertia about this point. You have to take the axis through this only, right? Point of suspension. Because why? Because obviously I have calculated torque about the point of suspension, so my moment of inertia should also be about axis through that, right?
Yeah.
I cannot do moment of inertia about some other axis and torque about some other.
That
Right?
axis.
So you have this situation minus mgl sin theta is equal to I into alpha. Let's calculate I. We are assuming mass m, length L, right? So moment of inertia is simply ml square, right? Correct.
Correct.
So it will be ml square alpha. So now we are getting alpha is equal to minus divided. So G by L sin theta, right?
Yes.
Now, here is where in many questions in SHM, the actual equation will not be an SHM equation, but after an approximation, it will be an SHM equation. Okay. So actually, alpha or angular acceleration, which is the double derivative of theta, right? You are getting this equation, no?
Yeah.
So actually notice that this is looking similar to the SHM equation, but slightly not correct, right? This was the SHM equation. A is equal
Yes.
to minus K by mx or something, right?
Yeah.
So if it was x, it would have been fine, but it is not x, no, it is theta. It is sine theta. Right?
Yeah.
This is theta can be thought of as x only, right? So
Right.
this is sine theta, so that is a problem, but it is not a problem if theta is small. If theta is small, we know that sine theta tends to theta, right? By limits.
Yes. Yes.
So we can say that it is almost equal to minus g by L theta for small theta, right?
Yes.
So for small theta, this equation is valid, and this equation is an SHM equation, no, same equation. See?
Yep.
Correct. So
Yep.
omega square here, omega square will become g by L here, right?
And yeah.
So omega is root g by L, and now equation will be theta is equal to theta naught is my amplitude sine omega t plus delta, right?
Yeah.
Just like here it used to be x is equal to a sine omega t plus delta, right?
Right.
So where omega is what? Root g by L, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Theta naught and delta will come from the initial moment, what you choose as t is equal to 0, right?
Yes.
And time period will simply be 2 pi by omega. We have already derived that. So 2 pi by root g by L becomes 2 pi root L by g. You understand?
Yes.
So this is the force method where we write the torque, find the free body diagram, write the torque. Torque is I alpha. Finally, I you divide by I, you get alpha is proportional to something. Hopefully, you are hoping that it comes out as alpha is proportional to minus k theta, or k by m, or k by I, or something theta. As long as it comes alpha is proportional to theta, you have an SHM, and you know the answer to that SHM, right?
Right.
If it is not like that, then you have to hope that you can do some approximation and get it, right?
Right.
In this case, our approximation is small theta. If it is small theta, sine theta is same as theta, right?
Right.
So that is what he has derived here. Like if you see 12 till 12.19, right? All of it is the same derivation. So you can get omega, angular frequency and stuff. And then 12.23, next section is the simple pendulum. Okay. So 12.23 is the simple pendulum stuff. You should read that. We will stop here. What we will do is 12.9 physical pendulum, torsional pendulum, 10 and 12.11, which is composition of multiple SHMs. Right? Those sections, what we will do is we'll do it in the next class. And you should already start doing the examples here, because these are not very difficult. I mean, there might be some difficult questions, but doing the examples is very important in this chapter, okay? Because he will teach you how to solve these questions, and you have to get used to it. If you are not already familiar with this chapter, and if you don't have that much confidence in this chapter, now is the time to do the examples. Okay?
Okay. I'll do that.
Make sure that you are working on the examples at least. One more class will be required to finish the theory.
All
Finish
right.
the theory and start the exercise. So look through the examples. I will also send one sheet for physics for SHM from Plances.
You already.
So SHM one I sent.
Yeah.
Okay then. Sure, I've already sent it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay then. Then you just need to basically go through the examples in HCP and then go through the SHM theory from the other Plances book also. It will help. Okay.
Okay.
One more class will be required. We'll try and finish it and then we'll do the exercise questions. So
Alright.
make sure you go through the theory before the next class, and the examples, I mean, go through the examples. Okay.
Do that.
Okay, that's all then. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.